r/ask Reddit. What are some hard pills to swallow in life? Your physical appearance affects the way people treat you a lot. This is a big one. It's been hypothesized that just being better looking can give you a step ahead over other candidates when trying to get a job. People just naturally assume that if you're good looking, you're a better person. Yes, there was a temp brought into the place where I work, who was a good looking guy, fit and intelligent. He had some pretty abysmal work ethics and acted as if the rules didn't really apply to him. Strangely enough, no one made the rules apply to him. He began acting like he was a supervisor, directing and delegating. The rest of us would look at each other like, WTF, I can only guess as to why, but his assignment ended suddenly in the middle of the workday. I guess looks can only take you so far sometime. Oftentimes, who you know is as important or even more important than what you know. As a sheltered kid who was taught to solely focus on academics, this was a very rude awakening. For people reading this who don't think they have a good network, please don't take a defeatist attitude. This is something you can fix at any time. Join those stupid professional groups that you think are silly. Go to conferences, maybe even give a talk at one. Volunteer for things at work that make you interact with people across the team or even other companies that you wouldn't otherwise. If someone you know is doing something awesome, reach out to them. See if you can find a mentor at work or outside of work. The list goes on and on. There is this weird paradox called the friendship paradox. Basically, your friends, on average, have more friends than you do. The intuitive reason for this is that people with lots of friends are more likely to be your friend. Professionally, this means even putting yourself out there a little bit will usually result in you connecting with people who are more connected than you. Best decision I ever made for my career was making the very deliberate steps to get to know more people in my profession. Your closest friends will move away or you'll drift apart. Despite your best efforts to stay in touch, they may disappoint you by not responding. And then you become cynical when they finally do respond. It takes 30 ducking seconds to reply to a text and you wait until 3 months later and don't even reply back again for a few weeks after that. Yep, I have the 3 text rule. I can understand forgetting to respond, I have done it. So 3 text rule goes. I will send a text, wait, then send another text either later that day or the next day. If no response, then I will send a text about 5-7 days later. If no response, I am done. Most friendships aren't as strong as you thought. I kind of feel like a dong, but I make a different variety of friends. And there's one kid who I knew since freshman year. We were good friends through high school. But he's a total narcissist and honestly never shuts up. I ghosted him for a couple years. Then he messages me saying how he's changed, not the bitter person he used to be, and making it clear he valued our friendship. So I gave him another chance, and he is still 95% the same, and has no other friends as a result. So now I kinda pity hang out with him once in a while, but usually I just make an excuse not to hang out. I just can't stand how he talks shit about everyone and everything. Not sure what the point of this post is, so I'll try to make one. If people don't seem to want to be around you, take a good look at yourself. Some people will not like you, no matter how much you may want to be friends. You cannot make someone like you back. You can be the most perfect apple that ever existed, but some people just hate apples. Android for life, yo. Most people don't care about you anywhere near as much as you'd think. Realizing this can be very liberating. Agreed. Not thinking about what others think about you is one of the most important steps to, or aim to, live in happiness. Every single relationship you have with any person is either gonna end with one of you leaving or one of you dying. Enjoy it while you can. On the bright side, there is always the prospect of both dying at the same time. E.g. car crash. Calm down, Morrissey. Your body wears down over time. Take care of your back, knees, and teeth. You'll need them in the future. I'm almost 29 and a lifetime of obesity has already led to arthritis in my back along with a herniated disc. I know the whole love your body at any size thing is gaining popularity, but your body simply doesn't like being that big. Listen to underpaid wicker people. I'm not 60 yet, but in the last 3 years I've had to have all my teeth pulled and get dentures. and I just had major surgery on my neck spine in March. So far. Thank you. Got my knees are holding out though. Happy Mother's Day to me. Realizing that not everyone is who you thought they were, and people will not always treat you in the way you treat them. Yup, we love to put people into boxes and create our own standards ideals of them. That's not like Joanna. She never does that. Great way to continually set yourself up for disappointment. You're right. Definitely taught me that people are not always as they seem, and it's naive to take them for face value. People do things out of character for a whole array of reasons, but it's good lesson to learn. Life isn't fair. You can be a good person and still get shit on. You can work your ass off and still be struggling. Yet some douche gets everything handed to them. You can do everything right and your life can, and will, fall apart. But as true as it is, if someone is going through a hard time, don't ever tell them nobody said life is fair. That's one of the most irritating things I can think of. Also, your struggles are just as valid as someone that has it harder than you. Just because someone is starving somewhere doesn't mean your car getting hit in a parking lot isn't a sucky way to end your day. Edit. Because apparently some people are taking this literally. Let me rephrase a tad. Just because someone, somewhere in the world has problems, doesn't mean that you can't have a shitty day. You can empathize with other people's pain, and also not feel guilty that you are sad, upset, angry, happy about something in your own life. I think far too often people try this to help people think that, relatively speaking, things could be worse, but ultimately it comes off as a platitude and falls short of any real meaning to the person it was intended for. Very, very rarely does anyone actually care about you as much as you care about you. You are a side character to everyone else, often not even an interesting one. This one actually has a positive side though. You get to stop being so good and self-conscious. Your co-workers are not going home to their families talking about how this loser at work wore the same shirt twice this week. What's wrong with wearing the same shirt twice? That's what you take away from my post. It takes two people working all the time to make a relationship work, but only one to decide it's over and then it is just done at that very moment. Yup, it sucks how everything seems to be going great until in an instant it's over. It makes trusting people hard, but if you don't then you will just wind up even more alone than before. The worst is with every heartbreak, you throw just a little less into every relationship. Less trust, less devotion and less love. I hope that it would recover but seriously never truly gets back to what it once was. You may never get to be with someone you love. Edit. It's interesting hearing how everyone interprets this. Some people think it means that you may never find love at all. To others it means you love someone and may never get to be with them. Someone I love told me that soulmates aren't necessarily with you for life, but that doesn't mean they mean any less to you. They're still a soulmate. Before that I never believed in soulmates. Now I'm convinced that she is a soulmate of mine. But our time has passed. Now here's a good one. Too many of the comments in this thread so far are basically just sometimes people are mean. I like this one. Most people think someday they'll find the right person and end up with them. And for some people that will come true. But if you're unlucky you might just end up alone for the rest of your life. Living in a world defined by the kind of relationship you can never manage to achieve. Maybe if you're alone it will be your fault. Or maybe it'll be no one's fault and there won't be anything you can do about it. And sometimes the person you love will go hook up with one of your best friends. If someone can find a way to pay you less than you're worth, they will. And there will be times when you have to accept that because you need the money. And sometimes those times will be years and years. Most companies will try to perpetually duck you. You owe companies nothing. Especially if you aren't treated with respect. Whether that be pay, benefits, or daily interactions. Be a goddamn mercenary, but don't burn bridges. Unless you are an actual mercenary and need to burn a bridge. Eventually, someone will betray your trust. Not if you don't trust anyone. Ahahaha. The Ole Hermit solution. There are moments where you'll need to let go of something someone you love so ducking much. Your parents are mortal, limited and flawed humans who were not prepared to raise you and made most of it up as they went along, terrified that they were doing the wrong thing and hoping to just make it through the day, just like pretty much everyone. That was a huge part of my growing up. Losing that naivety and accepting that neither of my parents were saints. They ducked up. As a young teenager I told my mom I was a mistake. I regretted it for a while. But then I accepted that it was actually true. I was not planned at all. And my dad refused to believe I was his. But the fact that my mom accepted that responsibility and did her best shows her love for her children. As an adult I see my cousins and siblings and friends fumble their way through parenthood and understand how hard it is to do a job you are never trained to do, and that is so important. Yet you only get one chance to do it right and be judged on it for the rest of your life. I know precisely how much of a dunt my father's parents were to him, because of how much of a dunt he was to me. It took me a long time to wrap my head around the reason why he would say such devastating and hurtful things to me so frequently. Why he was easy with punishment but hard to get love from. But I heard stories of how his parents treated him. The thing that gets me, the thing that prevents me from being willing to forgive, is knowing how much he suffered at their hands, only to not learn a Method King thing from it and pass it right on along. You can't always be the best, but you can always do your best. Wholesome. I like this one. You can't make someone love you. They can't make their heart feel something it won't. Swallowed that one a long time ago. Now someone that did love you and no longer does, especially due to incorrect perceptions that you can't change. Currently choking on that pill. You know how tons of people told you that you were special when you were a kid? You're incredibly average. Or worse, you're above average, but because you were special, you didn't learn a lot of things that are necessary to function as an adult because you coasted by on natural talent in school. Now you have to work twice as hard to learn and apply your skills in adulthood. You don't get to decide that you aren't an a-hole. Sometimes you do shit that hurts people you care about even when you have good intentions. Similarly, behaviors that kept you safe in an abusive situation are often harmful and can destroy your healthy relationships. Being on the other end of a relationship with someone who was abused destroyed me, even though their actions were clearly born of having to deal with physical and mental abuse. I can only describe it as an abusive relationship. They never changed, and they never understood how their actions affected me. They would even say that they never meant to hurt me, or that they had good intentions. Intentions don't matter. Here's a bonus lesson. If you ever feel yourself pining for what a relationship once was, or what it could be, get out. It's likely never going to be the same, and there's no guarantee it will ever get better. You can be the ripest, juiciest peach in the world, and there's still going to be somebody who hates peaches. You are judged immediately on your gender, appearance, dress, voice, height, fitness, race, socioeconomic status. Some of those things you can control to your benefit. Mostly you cannot, and there is nothing you can do about it. Everybody judges. Maybe not negatively, but everyone judges. And your God-given neutral expression, "I've got the resting beach face," quite bad for a man. This is to the point where I always look angry, even on happy days, which then leads people to assume I'm on the warpath all of the time. I guess it's just my mouth curling down slightly at the edges, but it makes everyone I meet assume I dislike them right off the bat. Admitting you're wrong is a huge pill for a lot of people to swallow. They would much rather blame others or make excuses rather than admit fault and take responsibility. Shit just happens, no matter how prepared you are. Unexpected breakups, unexpected death, unexpected injuries, unexpected job changes. In life, you can only control what you can. Everything else will happen however it will happen. A younger person at my office was saying I wouldn't be able to handle that about a parent getting sick. Thing is, none of us could until we had to. So many times in life you're confronted with situations that seemed impossible to deal with before they happened. But the only option is to get through it. We are every moment losing our youth, and we'll never get it back. I wasn't doing much with it anyway. I want to share something I wrote many years ago. I would have it that I could start again, shining my rays before their time, taking the glory that should have been mine, standing in front and not behind, knowing the ways to skip the climb that must be climbed to reach the heights of self-enlightened might that in the past and in hindsight was needed then to help me fight for things I never knew I might look back upon with new insight. Desires that had come to light and opportunities had died. These heights that peak inside your mind will peak and cease just to decline till all you're facing is a slow and gradual loss of all you now. Down that horrid slope you'll go while you see Thoth youth and Hopper climbing up while you're below. Look up at them and you will now shine the rays that cast your shadow. A scorpion asks a frog to carry it across a river. The frog hesitates, afraid of being stung, but the scorpion argues that if it did so, they would both drown. Considering this, the frog agrees, but midway across the river the scorpion does indeed sting the frog, dooming them both. When the frog asks the scorpion why, the scorpion replies that it was in its nature to do so. Some people are just scorpions. Edit. I haven't played God of War and the extent of me getting this Borg reference is that it has to do with Star Trek. I just read it and heard it a lot coming up. That if you are old and poor and homeless, people will walk right past you as you die in the street. Gave one of the exiles a $20 for lunch since it was around -10 outside. He got super excited and asked if it was okay to give me a hug. It must really sucks to be forgotten. One of the most common things people who are homeless will tell you sucks the most about being homeless is that they feel pretty much invisible because no one will acknowledge them. Thanks to people not wanting to make eye contact with them and feeling obligated to give them money and other cliches. That the best part of your life might very well be already over, whether that means adventure, free time, health, fitness, sex, lack of stress, whatever. I'm 33 with 3 kids, and don't get me wrong, I plan on still having a hell of a great life, but when I look back at 22, yeah, there's no getting that lifestyle back. That's why I am seriously considering not having kids. Every single thing I enjoy about my life would either be majorly limited or completely ended by having kids. It's an important consideration to make. No kid deserves to be seen as a burden who just sucks away their parents' joy. In my 20s I traveled abroad multiple times, saved a bunch of money, and had a fun, sort of nomadic lifestyle. My job had me traveling across the US, living out of hotels for a couple years. It was great, and I was incredibly happy. Today, I've got a wife and 2 kids, far less disposable income, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. My life is so different now, but I just love being a dad and simply adore my wife so much more than I ever enjoyed any part of my old life that was fun. But being a parent isn't easy and it's certainly not for everyone. If you think you're the kind of person who would always be concerned with what they can't do for themselves because of what they must do for their children, then it isn't for you. Big antibiotic horse pills. You know how everyone else sucks. Yeah, so do you. Edit. I came back after 4 hours, and this has more points than I thought, so I'm hijacking my own comments to share all my other dark thoughts since then. You never really understand anyone else's issues, and they never really understand yours. Even when you think you get it because you went through something similar, you don't. Every time you share your problems with someone, and vice versa, they will give you their take and advice, and it will never adequately address the problem. It will only serve to frustrate. The only thing you can do is give unconditional support. That whole thing about women not wanting advice. Just a hug? Yeah, that's just because you can't give advice. If you could magically fix their problems in a sentence, they would be thrilled. That way you feel on an off day, health-wise, that's the way you will dream of feeling in 10-15 years. And this cycle is only going to continue. More dark thoughts coming, but my wife wants to watch something. I'll be back, and back. While we are on hard pills to swallow, it's always going to be better to consider the value of the relationship as a whole than the individual issue. If you are not married, or in an equivalent serious relationship, you don't yet know how lumpy that pill is. Still worth it. Whether you think everyone else's view is stupid, or you think that everyone has a valid opinion, you are going to be disappointed. On that note, you would rather be considered right than actually correct. And the things you are more open-minded about are just things you are less sure of or care less about. Even knowing this, you will think it doesn't apply to the opinion you have right now, but looking back 2 years, will apply to all those opinions. When your friend, especially your best friend, gets into a relationship, their soul will replace you. At best, your friend will make an effort not to let you notice, but you will notice. You'll notice in the way they're just going through the motions when they tell you about their day, because the way that's talking to you lifts off their shoulders is inconsequential by comparison. You'll notice in the way that you're the first person they wanna tell about new and exciting experiences instead of the one with whom they make those experiences. If you aren't trying to marry someone, you're ultimately vying for second place in their life at best, and the only way you can remain each other's best friends for life is in the absence of real contenders for first. Edit. I'm seeing a lot of people misinterpret this part. If you flat out lose your friend because they started dating someone, then something is wrong. Either your friend is kinda shitty, they suck at managing time, or their partner is abusive. The situation I'm talking about is where in a healthy relationship, they will, surprisingly quickly, be closer to their so than they are to you. Even if they've known you significantly longer. Unrelated bonus answer. Your crush doesn't need a reason not to like you back. Even if they have a reason, you don't have a right to hear it. Edit. Clearer wording. My best friend got into their first relationship a year ago. I'm used to it by now, but it sucked at first. To add insult to injury, I have very few friends. The subjectivity Lou Bloom in Nightcrawler is the perfect example. He read all those self-help books and knows his armchair psychology, yet he's a little off and comes across as creepy. So you can do all the right stuff like calling people by their first name, yet the tactic can give you a used car salesman, or if you're missing that magical it factor. Same with the asking questions technique. It can sound like an interrogation or eye contact. Where's the line between attention and staring problem? That movie was amazing. First time I watched it I didn't really analyze it. The second time I did though. Damn, it was deep. Your health is okay until it's not. There is always going to be someone better at something than you. And it will be an 5-year Asian on YouTube. Parents don't automatically love and protect. Love is a rare thing to find. You don't find love. It's nothing instantaneous. It builds over time by being nurtured and cared for. You can change your life at any time. You can, within reason, do whatever you want and be whoever it is you want to be. It sounds like something people just say, but you actually can. I could get in my car and drive away and never come back. I could go out and talk to random people on the street and ask them silly questions. I could make some crazy plans I've always wanted to make and actually do them. Open bracket. I mean, I'm an anxious mess, so I feel like I can't, but it's technically possible. For me, or anyone. We could all do things that feel impossible but actually aren't. It's kind of bizarre to realize we're the only ones holding ourselves back. That we've literally just constructed a reality where there are limits to things we can do, only because we say so. I'm not saying there aren't any limits, but a great deal of them are just things we've told ourselves. I've been telling myself heaps of these lies and hope someday I can train myself out of them. I'm not sure if this is too positive to be a hard to swallow pill, but I think it is. Because we hold ourselves back and waste a lot of time with this mindset. So it's hard to accept because we feel responsible. Edit. I feel like my examples are bad. Forget over the top shit like driving off. I'm more hung up on the fact that I think I somehow can't change into the person I want to be when I could. Anytime. That kind of gets me the most. The fact that I could start living in a way that's more honest to myself, but I just don't. For me, a lot of things feel like too much effort, so I think I can't do them. I guess it just trips me out to think I could if I expelled the effort. But maybe this is just anxiety shit. I hoped saying you can do things within reason would discourage the "wow, okay, I'll just pretend to be rich then" comments, but nah. LOL. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.